All right, everyone. This is TDS Taco coming to you with another basketball video. I got one of our Instagram, I want to say analysts, producers, content creators, Ricky on. You may not have seen him on the videos, but he's been producing content for us all this long time. So, what up, Ricky? How you feeling,
What's
man?
going on, man? Steve, what's going on?
Not the
Ah,
Knicks, bro. That's not
nerve-wracking,
going anywhere.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, like it's getting a bit scary right now if you're a Knicks fan because we understand that this is a do or die game for us coming up game 5 versus the Atlanta Hawks. We understand that, in the last game that the Knicks played, as we see here, we lost 113-96 with us really looking bad in that second half. As we know, going into halftime, coming out of the halftime, we were only down by 4 points. And in that third quarter, the Atlanta Hawks put work on us. They outscored us by 13 points. They definitely dominated us on every sense of the game in that third quarter, and it really changed the whole complexion of that game, putting us in a deficit that we couldn't come back from. And now we're going into the Garden for game 5 in a do or die scenario where it's, win or go home. Julius Randle has been playing well. RJ Barrett's been struggling. Reggie Bullock can't hit anything. Alec Burks is now all of a sudden gone MIA. Ricky, what are the Knicks gonna do? What's your opinion here? What do you think we got going on?
You know what sucks from last game, just quickly on the last game was I thought the first half, again, we were down by 4. It was not even so much that we're down by 4. They played better. I know the last game that we lost, game 3, they scored 31 points. I think they scored like 8 points in like 8 seconds or something like that. I think it was more of a facade. I thought last game, the first half was for real. I thought we were in it. Then it just completely fell apart. Looking at this game again, listen, if we don't have Randall, RJ, I mean, they combined, they averaged something about like 40 points for the team. So again, if we don't have them, if we can't get their 40 points at minimum from them, what they were averaging during the season, then like I said, look, this is what's going to happen. Do I believe Atlanta's better than us, that much better than us, where they're beating us by 18, 20 something points? No, I really don't. But again, your 2 stars are not playing. I mean, there's not much we can do. Bullock, who's our best 3-point shooter, he's not hitting anything, and that was frustrating part. Nothing was going in. Some of the shots were just good, and they were going out. And for Atlanta, everything was going in. It was complete night and day what was going on last game.
Yep. And one thing that I do have to say about this series, and again, I am a biased Knicks fan, as I say in any show that I guest on. I was recently on Table Talk, where we were talking about this stuff, and irrationally speaking, I thought the Knicks had a shot to maybe beat the Sixers because I was like, Joel Embiid can't stay healthy. I was right about
I didn't
that.
have that much, but I know what you mean. But yeah,
But I was right about the whole Joel Embiid is not going to stay healthy, but I was wrong about the Knicks. And I think one of the biggest reasons I feel like I was wrong about the Knicks is the elevation of the pressure in these moments is starting to get to these guys. As much as they want to say, they don't feel it, they don't see it, that it's just another game. Julius Randle is exhibiting the full effects of NBA playoff pressure. And partly that's due to him, and partly that's due to the great coaching of Nate McMillan. I think that's one thing that is really being understated is how good of a job Nate McMillan has done. He understood what the Knicks do, and he's combated it every single the way. He knows that Julius Randle likes to go left. He knows Julius likes to handle the ball. He knows Julius likes to ISO, and he knows Julius sometimes just takes on himself where I got to do this right now. He has that Kobe mentality, and he's feeding into everything that Nate McMillan wants. Nate McMillan also is, like, if you look at the way the games are going, Nate McMillan is bringing like a double team to Julius, leaving like the opposite wing open for the 3, knowing that we're not making that extra pass to get it over there, whether it be Julius is not seeing it or they're closing in on that lane fast enough where that it's a small window for them to make that pass. So I do think that a lot of credit is not be given to Nate McMillan, the great job that he's doing with Atlanta. 1, keeping the rotations good. 2, making the game plans good. And 3, getting his troops ready to play, knowing that they were going to come into a hostile environment in New York, and they split in the first game. Going back to Atlanta and making sure they hold serve and they do their job. So I think that's one thing that's really being underestimated is the great job Nate's done.
Well, no, I think you're right about that. Again, Nate, he did a good job in Portland. So
Yeah.
this is not
Indiana
anything new.
too. I don't know why Indiana let him go.
Exactly. So again, this is no surprise. I don't think. Now, again, it was a big turnaround the minute he started coaching in the season. You saw Atlanta took off.
Yep.
Again, the biggest thing to me, I agree with you on Nate McMillan. I do think their defense has been out of this world. It's like the Knicks defense during the regular season, where, hey, anywhere they passed it, there was a guy there. There was someone in their face or going into their face. There wasn't these open shots where Atlanta's getting these open shots, you know, in the corner or wherever it is, they're getting on the elbow. Again, to me, one of the biggest differences is Atlanta's defense. Do I believe, yes, the playoff lights are shining bright in Randall's eyes? Yeah, I do. I don't know if it's all that. I do believe some part of this is we overachieved during the regular season. Like,
Absolutely.
this, what Tibbs did. I mean, so now you're just really, I don't want to say we're getting somewhat exposed in the first round. Hey,
Absolutely.
this is not this is not the
Absolutely.
Knicks team this is not the regular season.
Absolutely.
And it's a big difference between the playoffs and regular, and we're getting exposed in the first round by Atlanta, who I think overall do have the better players. I don't think they're that much better than us.
And
But
and
again,
and one thing, just to be clear here, guys, we do a lot of predictions, analysis. We're
yeah,
heavily into fantasy basketball. That was our bread and butter during this winter. But in a personal note, Ricky knows this very well. I was of the mindset of I wanted to not make the playoffs when we initially came out with this roster and they didn't make any of these moves and we had the lowest payroll. I was like, we don't have enough talent to win in the playoffs. We don't have any shot creators. We don't have anyone that can go out there and create a shot for themselves or other than really Derrick Rose, who we got in the midseason trade. Julius Randle, while he can do that somewhat, this series, we're just exactly seeing it. He's not creating for others because guess what? He's settling for these isolation jump shots on the wing or he's spinning into double teams, and he's not creating like he needs to be getting. Honestly,
we don't have anyone that can go get a point for us.
Now we get a point because Rose could do that somewhat, but you don't have someone that
not really, not like that, not like Steve, not like what Atlanta has.
Derrick Rose is doing it. You know what it is? We don't have a guy like Trae Young who's like not just getting the bucket for himself, but is getting 11 assists per game.
But what I'm saying
and
to
it's
you
making easier baskets for the other players, which like the biggest play I think is that play to Obi. When Alec Burke hits Obi for the alley-oop jam, Obi every single time is running down the floor looking for the alley-oop. But so many times our guys aren't looking at it. The play with IQ where they're coming down and we don't get a possession, we don't get a score in it, but it's like IQ's trying to go up and take it to the rack. Meanwhile, Obi's running for the same thing. It's like, right. IQ, hit your boy Obi. He's bigger than you. He's going to jump over this guy. But that's the thing that the Knicks
I still think the Knicks are lacking that. They don't have anyone that could get a bucket. They don't, Steve. Derrick Rose has been playing out of this world.
He's getting the bucket.
He's not someone where they, like you say, Trae, or even I forget they brought it up. Lou coming off the bench. No. It's someone that you say
that Rose is not playing better than Lou.
No, I'm not saying that, but that's Lou off the bench, and they have someone that can say, get a bucket. We don't have guys like that. Burks has been playing out of his role, but we don't have any guy where they could trust. They had guys that they could trust and say, hey, get me 2 points. We don't have that. You saw that during the Knicks game. We couldn't stop the bleeding. Even when we were playing good defense, we couldn't get a bucket.
That's Julius Randle. That's flat on Julius Randle because honestly, Julius Randle's the most improved player. Julius Randle carried this team. Julius Randle's not showing up. So you can't say that we don't have it. Julius Randle's not showing up. And this is what I said the biggest need for the Knicks going into this offseason has to be the first thing that we get. We need not just a point guard. We need a playmaking point guard. I don't need a guy that can just go out there and get his own buckets. I need a guy that could see the floor and say, hey, RJ's running in transition. Let me get him the ball because he's either going to get a foul or get to the rim. He has a mismatch coming up. We need a CP3 type guard. We need a Kyle Lowry type guard who's going to say, guess what? Let's run in transition. Let's get the point. Go, Obi. I see you in this lane. Make your move. I got you. We don't have that.
Do we sign Randall to a max?
What happened?
Do we sign Randall to a max? I mean, we're not going to have any choice.
That I think that's the beautiful part about Randall's contract. Randall doesn't have a choice either. His contract says I can pick you up for an extension for $20 million for next year. So now I have one more season to see what you do, Randall. And it's not disrespect for me just to pick up your option because guess what? In the offseason, we'll negotiate. I'll tell you that, you know what? After everything we've seen, You already know your upside is limited because that's the beautiful thing about what the NBA's done. He can only get 120% of what he got on his last thing. So his raise is limited. He's only going to get up to $25 million with his
Yeah,
next
but
contract.
I don't. I mean, after what he did, I think they're going to get him.
Max contract. What I'm trying to tell you is max contract for him can't exceed a certain amount because of the NBA rules.
Yeah, but he's even worth that max contract.
But see, here's the thing: what's max? If
I
Max
don't know
is
what his max will be.
if Max is 40, no. If Max is 27, yes.
It's going to be more than that, I think.
That's the thing. He only can get 120%.
I mean, you're going to pay Randall like number one money.
That's the thing where I believe that you are wrong. Because of one, he has the extension, and two, because of the way the NBA salaries work, you can't just randomly say I'm going to give you $40 million. You have to reach criteria. That's why they have the max, they have the super max. Steph Curry's super max is worth more than anyone else's max because he hits certain elevator criteria. It's almost like a bonus. It's like kind of like how you work in a job when you're
I'm be wondering what they're going to do. I do believe they need someone like Lonzo, Lowry.
Yes.
I think Lowry to me is on a short-term deal. I don't want him on a long-term deal. I would like a 2-year, maybe 3.
I mean, but that's really
Conley's also free, I think, right? Conley's a free agent.
Yep. I don't like honestly. If I with one of those two guards, a 3-year deal is perfect.
Yeah.
And especially because we have the cap space. But I don't want to make this into a what should the Knicks do in the offseason video because you know what?
Yeah, you're right.
I think that here's going to be one of the big things. I do think the Knicks could win this next game if the guys show up and show out because we are in a position where other than the last game, all the other games are close. It was no blowouts until this final game where game 4, quarter 3, we just didn't show up. Now, I think that Tibbs also has been exposed a little bit in this series, and not for the fact of like he's not a good coach because he is a good coach, but he isn't quick to make the adjustments. Nate McMillan, I feel like, is a little quicker on the adjustments. And what I mean by that is Trae Young is eating you alive in this series. And I completely understand. You know what? In my opinion, Frank Ntilikina's size, even if you put him on the off guard when Burks is out, I mean, not Burks, Bullock is out, just to run him with Rose and let him guard Trae. And I think the one thing that I have to say is even if we don't do that, we need to change up the game plan with Trae. We need to start doubling him high. We need to start having people rotate. We cannot keep doing what we're doing with him because it's not working. Now we're down 3-1. Now you can't say that you're going to make the changes. Those changes should have started making in that last game. And Reggie Bullock being the only defender is not good enough.
To me, Frenchie, again, you know how I feel, Frenchie. He's just, to me, they can't trust him in the offense. We need points. We need buckets. He's a liability on the offense.
Understand that. But Reggie Bullock is not hitting shots, and he's not defending. If you tell me I'm going to put Frenchie in for 5 minutes right now while Reggie Bullock's not hitting any shots and getting
they might have to go back to Payton and see what he has left.
I'll be honest, Payton was eating him alive too. That's why I suggest this guy because he's the only guy in the roster. He has the best length at 6'7". And you know what? I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying he's a savior. But you know what? As a coach, he's on your roster. You didn't trade him.
I think you're going to see some changes during this game. You
got to give him a look.
You're right. They have to do. It can be simple ones. They're going to have to do something to stop what's going on, which is basically Atlanta getting their shot at will.
Yep.
People getting the open shot. Trae going in.
And you know why they're getting the open shots? Trae Young on a dribble drive is beating every single defender that we have one-on-one. And that's for
they're not getting there quicker. They're not getting quick enough. They're not getting there quick enough to try. By the time the other players come in to Trae's already in the middle, and he's already floating it over.
And not only that, like if you looked at that last game, Reggie Bullock is bigger and stronger than Trae. And Trae was still, I remember this play vividly, when he was coming down the baseline, and it looked like Reggie Bullock was trying to use the baseline as a man out. And instead, what Trae does is a little bounce dump off to Capella for an easy layup. And so many times that they're getting that, where it's like Trae Young is penetrating to the rim. He's either going to get a floater, or he's going to get a lob, or he's going to get a dump off pass to someone in the paint. Or if everyone rotates over and does their job, he finds the guy on the outside for the spot up. And I think Trae Young has been more of a point guard than we could have ever imagined. Everyone looked at him as this scorer, this 3-point guy, but he's an actual facilitator who understands where his guys are and he gets them involved. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons.
It's more his attack to the rim is killing us more than his 3-pointers.
Yeah, absolutely. Because off his attack to the rim, he's doing one of two things. He's either sitting in a situation where he's
Or
going
he's
to float
passing
it,
it off.
or he's going to pass it off, and we can't stay in front of him in that
No.
situation. So and yes, I know Frenchie got blown by in that game, but he was also cold coming off the bench. So it's
No,
hard to
that was
expect,
a hard position. That was a hard spot for Frenchie.
right? But this is why I'm saying give him 5. Like if Reggie Bullock is shooting 0 for 4 and Trae Young is eating his fucking lunch. Throw Frenchie in there for 4 minutes. You're already fucking getting eat up, and he's not hitting shots. The one good thing about Frenchie,
Obi needs more minutes.
yes, absolutely.
Obi needs more minutes.
Honestly, what I would like to see
They
them
have
do
to find somewhere to put him in the game.
I think that they need to run a little bit of a lineup with Obi and Randall. Run those two again, and that's the one thing that I want to say. And I forgot where I saw it on Twitter, but someone had made a good point. Tibbs was so hard pressed to do everything he can to make the playoffs and make the seed that he didn't spend time experimenting with lineups and trying and tinkering, where that sometimes may cost us, especially down that stretch, because we needed to win every single game in order to get where we are.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of games before this thing should have ended, we should have experimented with Peyton out of the lineup and see who can we do in there. Because to me, I think taking Rose off the bench has now kind of killed him, because now he shot his whole wad. And he can't play 40 minutes a game.
He can't do
it.
He needs to be fresh down the stretch.
Yes.
We need to keep it close and when he's fresh down the stretch.
And to me, that's why I thought Alex Burke was the better person to start off with. Not that Alex Burke is a better player, but in the starting lineup, he can give you a little bit of shooting. He can pass the ball a little bit. He's one of our better defenders, so to put him on Trae Young is a little bit better than some of these other guys, better than a Quickly, right? And then boom, you make the switch to Rose early if Burke doesn't have it. But Burke.
It's just that he was doing so well off the bench, like you almost didn't want to kill that.
You can't. You took Rose off the bench too. One of them had to come off the bench.
Rose, he had no choice after Payton's performance.
But that's the problem. Because here's the thing, like you said, Rose needs to stay fresh. Alec Burke, I could have ran early.
But I think part of Tibbs' mindset was off the high. Why they put Rose in is, hey, we need someone to get us going now.
Bro, he played,
and Rose was that guy right away where he could trust him and say he's a veteran. And say, yo, this game is. Don't get it out of hand.
I love Tibbs. This is where Tibbs has an issue. You played Rose 40 minutes a game now for those first couple games. Now he's shot. In the last game when we needed him, he was shot.
But I mean, we were blown out of that game for a while.
We may have been blown out of that game for a while, but Derrick Rose played 33 minutes in that game. And in that third quarter, he didn't have his legs. Flat out. And without having Derrick Rose, we couldn't stop the bleeding.
Well, it's really, for everyone out there, it's going to come down to this. Randall and RJ have to show up. That's pretty much it. This is not,
And not only do Randall and RJ have to show up, you need either Burks or Quickly to show up. You got to get one of those two guys off the bench scoring for you.
Yeah.
You cannot keep going through this thing thinking just RJ and Randall. You need some of those secondary scorers, especially our three-point shooters. Like, we can't have our three-point shooters not showing up because Reggie Bullock needs to hit shots.
He missed open shots. Bullock makes open shots.
Yeah, not anymore. Here, you know what everyone's looking like right now? They're looking like last year's team. It's like all of a sudden they said, you know what? Hey,
reverted back in.
Yeah, it's like the Scooby-Doo where they're really last year's team. So I think it's going to be super interesting to see what happens in tomorrow's game. I think the Knicks do have a chance. I don't want to sound too negative here, but we're down 3-1. We have to realistically
one game at a time. Let's find our home core. Let's get one here and next game.
And I think in that last game, we started to see Taj is also starting to have his down spiral. And I think that's why, like you said, our boy Obadiah Toppin needs a little bit more time out there. And I think he's going to be, bless you. I think if we're gonna come back in this series, it's going to rely a lot on how well he can play, because I do think that we should be running a front court for a little bit because we don't have Mitchell right now.
Yeah.
So I do think that an Obi Randall lineup with some shooters out there may be one of our best chances to get some offense, because we're struggling to get offense. So many times we're going through these games and it's like Bullock can't shoot, Noel can't shoot, Gibson can't shoot, and then all the other guys are off. Yeah. So it's like
I remember we had like 2 stops in a row, and they had 2 stops in a row. It was like we were getting our defensive stops, and then we couldn't get the points. And like at one point, it was we were getting our points, but we had no defensive stop. So it was like either way we were screwed. We couldn't do it both at the same time.
Nope. We haven't figured out how to walk and chew gum yet. But with that being said, this is the playoffs, and experience is its own immeasurable, valuable asset that these
100%.
players are gaining. That's the hope for us Knicks fans that even though this playoffs looks bad, maybe guys like OB and RJ and Randall are able to develop themselves into players that can, handle the pressure and become diamonds instead
Yep.
of, wilt.
Yep.
So,
I'm with you.
yep. So that's what we got for you for this preview. Um, Ricky, give me a projection on your score here. What do you think it is? Last game was 113.96. The other games were like 107, 105. It seems like nothing's really going over 120.
I mean, for us, I think to win, it's going to be like
If we hit 110, we're winning.
no. That's what I'm saying. So for us to win is like 108 to 102, 110 to 104.
Yeah.
That's what we have to keep it in for us to win. Look, we're not scoring 115. We're not scoring 120. We keep it at 110, and we can keep them under 110. I think that's how the Knicks win. I actually think the Knicks are going to win. So if you want me to predict, I think Knicks are winning.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put a score on there. I'm going to say 108 to 103 or 104, 103.
You know what? That sounds perfect to me. And that's kind of right in the alley that I was thinking as well. I have the Knicks winning. I'm going to stick with the same score, 108, 103.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be, I'm hoping, but RJ looks like he's starting to show something of maybe he might, but shooting wise, I would love to see what this kid has for the full offseason because he's dealt with a lot of weirdness in his rookie career. His first season was cut short. Second season was,
I hate to say I put this more on Randall than RJ.
Yeah. And
but again, just not to make excuses, when we say, hey, these guys have no experience yet, just to be fair, Atlanta has no experience either. Their players.
Well,
some of them, I mean, Lou, but I'm talking about Trey has no experience.
Dino got some experience. Capella has some experience. They all have more experience than.
But the young guys, the big guy Trey has no experience at all.
You're right, but I think that the one thing that we can fairly say is Trae Young has established himself as a league above Julius Randle as far as because you know what, they're both all stars. That's the one thing that's why.
I'll be honest with you, even during Randle's this year, if you told me pick Randle or Trey, I'm picking Trae Young. Even before these playoffs, I was doing that. That's just me. There was never my mind that I wouldn't pick Trae Young over Julius Randle.
I'll be real though. Did I expect this level of a gap? Honestly, I did not. And maybe this is just because I don't watch enough Trae Young. I didn't think Trae Young was this good of a facilitator. I didn't think Trae Young was this good at getting his players involved in the game and making sure that he understands what the defense is doing and attacking that. I did not think that Trae Young was this level.
You're right. I'm not going to say that, but what I do think is, again, I never put Julius Randle and Trae Young's category.
I mean, to me, I don't.
I don't know how much of a difference you're saying now, but yeah, again, I never put him in this category. I never put Julius Randle in the Trae Young category. To me, Trae Young is capable to be that man in the playoffs where he can take over.
To me, before, I thought it was you can have a good season, kind of all-star, or be like a consistent backup. But to me, Trae Young, what he's starting to look like is he's not a LeBron type, he's not a Donovan Mitchell type. But he's honestly, take that back. He's establishing himself on that Donovan Mitchell type level. Like Donovan Mitchell and him are getting to that level. I'd say Mitchell maybe is a little bit above him still, but he's putting him in a category.
To me, yes, Trae Young is more like Donovan Mitchell. To me, Trae Young is not Tatum. To me, Tatum is above Trae Young, and one level above him. To me, if you ask me right now, Tatum to me is one of the best players in the NBA. I love Tatum. I've been saying I love Tatum. I would take Tatum over Trae Young in a heartbeat.
Personally, preference-wise, since Tatum was a rookie, I mean, you were in that one league that Walker does. I drafted him as a rookie, thinking the world of him. So I do agree, talent-wise, Tatum is there. But I don't think that we can
Can Trae Young get to Tatum's thing? Yes, but right now they're not. Tatum is showing what he could do.
God, can you really put Tatum above Donovan Mitchell? That to me is that's hard.
I put Tatum over Donovan. I don't want to. This is a different discussion, but yes, I put Tatum over Donovan Mitchell.
And
Yeah.
that's gonna be a great offseason storyline that we could have
Yeah.
a debate with. But guys, on that note, we want to thank you for taking your time with us. Leave your comments below about what you think is gonna happen. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're doing a free NBA Top Shot giveaway once we get to 100 subscribers. You might do a Knicks giveaway if that's what you guys want. to have a Luka available as well. I have a Giannis. I have a Steph Curry. So I have some primetime stars that I can give away. Let me know below what you guys are thinking about. But until then, that's Mr. Ricky. I am the talented Mr. Taco. We are out.
And let's go Knicks.
Let's go Knicks.
Hey, David and Taco, they bring the heat. All about UFC, way more than a fantasy. Let's see who going toe to toe. Throw down on the mat. Check the replay, run it back. We gotta check the stats. Hey, do this every day. We ain't come to play. This is sports talk, and we love talking MMA. Everything fantasy sports. Dopest show that I know. With Electric Dave and talented Mr.